In a game like Overwatch, where the hero roster is massive, there's bound to be heroes that are picked more than others. You've probably seen a lot more DPS players picking heroes like Soldier and Bastion because of their high damage outputs, than you've seen them picking Cassidy or Junkrat, who are much more situational characters. I'm not saying that this is just a thing that happens in DPS, no. It happens in every role. There are specific heroes that are much more powerful than others because of how much more value they add to the team. One hero who's in a weird situation where she isn't a popular pick, but she can add a lot of value to the team is Echo. She can do a surprisingly high amount of damage if you use her abilities correctly. She has a lot of potential and can change the flow of the game. In this game in the background, I was able to get way more kills than a Bastion and almost out-damage him, whilst managing to get both trophies for her. And today, I'm going to tell you how you can do exactly the same thing I did by showing you how to use her abilities correctly and the type of playstyle you should have when playing her. But first, I'm going to ask you to subscribe and leave a like on this video, as I want to continue making Overwatch 2 related content that's not only entertaining, but educational too. First things first, kit breakdown. Echo is actually dead simple. People just tend to overcomplicate her. Her primary weapon is her tri-shot, her gun. It's not really a gun, but anyway. That fires 3 shots at once in a triangle pattern, making it a lot easier to hit enemies with it because of the spread that it has. This has good range, but a medium damage fall-off. You'll be able to hit shots from a pretty far distance, but it won't do as much damage as it would at medium range. Her abilities are sticky bombs. It's kind of obvious what these are from the name. They're a volley of sticky bombs. Focusing beam, which is kind of like Symmetra's primary fire laser with a few extra rules. And last but not least, flight, which again is pretty obvious what it is. It's flight. She has a passive glide ability where when you hold your jump button whilst airborne, instead of falling, you can glide across gaps. Her kit is pretty simple, but each piece has its own set of rules. This brings me on to my first tip on learning how to play Echo, and that's to use your focusing beam when your enemies are under half HP. Focusing beam has this weird rule where if the enemy you're targeting with it is under half HP, it does much more damage than it usually does. It's like when Symmetra builds up the charge of her lasers from enemies. The more damage you do, the more it scales. Your beam doesn't have much range, so you're going to have to get a little aggressive when using it, but that's fine because you can use your flight ability to get out of the fight if you need to. And that actually brings me on to my second tip on learning how to play Echo, and that's to position yourself with your flight ability. Because you can fly, you're going to want to spend most of your time airborne and fighting from the skies to create the off angle from above and make it harder for the enemy team to kill you. You might not get any kills by just shooting at the enemy team, but you could get a kill by shooting your sticky bombs at them. Either way, make sure you're constantly damaging the enemy team and building up that ult, because your ult can be surprisingly good depending on who you copy and if you know how to play them. My third tip on learning how to play Echo is to make sure that you copy the right person in your ult, because this can actually be game changing. If you accidentally copy someone that'll add no value to the fight, such as Mercy, then you've wasted your ult. If you accidentally copy someone that you don't know how to play, then you're probably going to die and in turn waste your ult. Make sure that you only use your ult when you're 100% sure that you know that you can hold your own as the hero that you copied, because your ult is actually their ult. You charge your ult twice as fast as they do when you copy them. So if you copy a diva, you can get an easy nuke and potentially change the way the game is going. Like I said before, make sure you're constantly damaging the enemy team and building up that ult, because your ult can be surprisingly good depending on who you copy and if you know how to play them. My fourth and final tip on learning how to play Echo is to spam your sticky bombs. These are going to do much more damage at range than just your normal primary fire, and with a cooldown of 6 seconds, you're going to be able to use these frequently. The best thing is that you don't have to stick them to an enemy for them to do damage. If the enemy is stood near where the bombs are stuck to, they'll start taking damage. Obviously, it's better if you do stick them with the bombs, as they can't just ignore them, but if you miss them, it's not really a problem, as the cooldown is so short that you can just throw another volley at them and try again. An entire volley of sticky bombs does around 150 damage, so make sure you're damaging the enemies whilst your bombs are detonating. And that just about does it for my guide on how to play Echo. I honestly don't know why more people don't play her, especially in the lower ranks where people can't aim as well as players in the higher ranks. She does a butt ton of focus damage, and she isn't the hardest to learn. Once you get the hang of how her abilities work, e.g. remembering remembering that focusing beam does more damage to enemies with less than half health, you can easily start carrying the team to a victory. Obviously, just be careful when the enemy team is full of hit scan heroes, because you're gonna get shot out of the air very fast if you don't kill them first. The best thing about playing Echo is that you can play her both aggressively and reserved depending on the situation the enemy team is in. Are they steamrolling your team? Stay in the air and play it safe. Are they getting steamrolled by your team? Get aggressive. Go in and stick them with your bombs and focus beam them till they're looking like Anakin in his fight with Obi-Wan. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Once again, I'm going to ask you to like this video, as it lets me know that you find these videos not only to be helpful, but entertaining. Let me know if you have any requests for other heroes in the comments below, and subscribe so you don't miss that guide when it comes out. There are some heroes that I probably won't be able to make a guide on, simply because I don't play them enough, but there are many more heroes on the list that I can make guides on than I can't make guides on. Finally, have a nice day or night if you're watching this at night, and make sure to check out my other videos. Not only will I appreciate it, but you might too.